Hey guys, I wanted to do a deck profile of my YCS deck. This was my first YCS, and I wanted to just make this deck profile for my own reference. But I am going to post it publicly, so if someone can learn something from it, fantastic. You know, maybe give you inspiration for your deck or what not to do. That works too. Um, so for context, I played pure Ryzeal at the event. I went 6-3, earned 18 points, and I bubbled on day two. So I didn't make it into day two. My tiebreakers weren't good enough, but I played all 9 rounds, went 6-3. It was round one win, round two loss, round three loss. Then I went round four win, round five win, round six win, round seven loss, round eight win, round nine win. So me going 1-2 early is probably what doomed me in my tiebreakers. But I did finish up 5-1, so I did have a strong end run to it at least. But anyway, let's get into the profile, and I'll go into what I plan on changing at the end. So I played pure, like I said. So the core, super standard, nothing crazy to see here. 3 bonfire, I count this as the core cards too. So nothing special here. Pretty straightforward. I've seen some people run 2 cross. I don't think it's a bad thing. I didn't miss the second cross, but I can definitely see an argument for it. I did not run hold dust, the trap. Again, you can do it if you want to. I ran a couple more consistency cards as well. So I ran prosperity. I'm running a pure deck, so I have the toolbox base. So, great choice for extending cards for me. And then this is where I start getting a little different. Instead of Desires, I went with 2 Small World, 1 Sakitama. So these guys. Desires was driving me crazy. I love that card in Kashtira, but in this deck there's so many one-ofs. You can technically play around them unless you build around it, but you banish your cross, your plug-in, it stinks. You banish your node, it stinks. Also, in a grind game meta like this, you're banishing 10 of your cards. When this deck can grind now with Eclipse Twins, it used to not be able to. You can actually grind with Fiendsmith now. And all you're doing, I feel, is shooting yourself in the foot. If your draws are good, fantastic. You can try to end it early. But that's just the way I thought about it. And I don't regret running these cards. I feel it did good for me. There's actually a lot of really cool bridges you can do in this deck. They're really, really clutch. And it came clutch for me a couple times. In my first game even, it came up. So my first match was a Labyrinth. And they went D-barrier on my turn. They turn 0 D-barriered me. And I had 2 ices in hand when they flipped it. So I went, okay, Small World, Ice, Bridge Sword, grab Ash. So I literally just small worlded to get an Ash Blossom in my hand. So it's okay, you want to stun me for a turn, I'm just going to Ash Blossom your Welcome Labyrinth on your turn, so you can't play either. I wound up winning that set, by the way, 2-0. So... And then Sakitama, this was mainly a testing thing. I had it on 3 Small World, but I was seeing Small World too often with either, all too many spell cards or not enough monsters, or I'd see a 2 of, and I didn't want that. So I went with Sakitama. I used to play this card in Exorcisters. It's a free summon. It's literally a free level 4 summon. I'm surprised I haven't seen more Ryzeal decks experiment with this card. Some of the other bridges you can do, it helps you bridge with this card more. By the way, just some other examples for bridges in case you're wondering how this works. Any Mulch Army, you can do Mulch Army and then Nibiru, because they both have 600 defense. And Nibiru's a light, so you can grab Ice or X'd. So it's kind of crazy. I can make a separate video later on the Small World bridges, but yeah, for now, this is staying in the deck. But I will say, this, Desires, whatever solution, I feel they're all going to just go out the window once 7 Tachyon hits, because it's just a better card than all of those. So this is mainly just for now. When 7th Tachyon hits, everyone should be on that. If they limit Bonfire, then yeah, maybe one of these will come back. But I'd probably just do this, or 1 Desires, Or I'm keeping the Prosperity in no matter what for pure. So for now, it's good, but once Tachyon hits, that's going to be the new boy in town. Alright, non-engine. 3 Fulleros, 1 Perolia. I really like the 1 Perolia. I wanted just more draw power plus level 4. It's just good with the deck. I saw one of the topping decks had 2 Perolia, 3 Fulleros. So I know I'm on the right track with that. Again, because like if you open, say, going first, you open one of these in X, and you open X and they hand trap it thinking you're Mitsurugi. You go, okay, normal to small Termi, go into either like Baguska or Dweller if you have all hand traps, or go into the duo drive and make them show you the second hand trap. So it's good for that too. And I mean, I don't really need to sing the praises of Fulleros. It's an insane card right now. 3 Ash, again, self-explanatory, crazy card. I went with 2 Druid Swarm, 1 Magnemite for my Bestials. I've seen some decks not run Bestials, some decks do. I think both options are fine. The reason I was on 5 Bestials at one point in testing, because I think Chaos Angel is absolutely absurd in this format right now. And Chaos Angel did come up a couple times for me in this tournament, and it did really well, so I'm happy I ran the Bestials. Like, literally one game, both me and my opponent bricked, but I basically got a Light and Dark Chaos Angel onto the field and just played, like, Chaos Angel control for, like, 3 turns and just grinded him into submission. So, yeah, the card's insanely hard to out for Ryzeal decks. And, of course, this card's just really good against Fiendsmith and Mitsurugi in general. Bestials are just good in general for that. 2 Droll. I was expecting a lot of Mitsurugi at this tournament. A lot. I played tested online, and I was sort of right. Like, I figured it was going to be 1A Fiendsmith Ryzeal, 1B Mitsurugi Ryzeal. And honestly, that kind of is what happened. Like, Grand Finals was Fiendsmith Ryzeal versus Mitsurugi Ryzeal. The problem is, I didn't face any. I faced 0. I'm not trying to do the meme. So yeah, this card is one of the things I probably would have changed. I would have probably tried to find a way to side it or just run one of them. It did still help me though, because I played 3 Fiendsmith Ryzeals in the course of my bracket, and I went 2-1 against them. And in at least one of the cases, they opened Engraver on me when I had Droll. I'm like, okay, sick, Droll, and they passed turn. So this is still pretty okay against Fiendsmith Ryzeal, but the main reason it's in here too is because I was expecting Mitsurugi. I made a meta call, and I was like half right. I didn't face any, so you know, it is what it is. Should have probably been a side deck card. Maybe like just one as a cross-out target, but at least one of these should have been a side card. 1 Valor, 1 Nib. I did not trust Nib right now because there's just so many ways to play around it. 2 Nib is pretty good. I think I probably would have went to 2 Nib, like in retrospect. I would have did one of these in the side and do 2 Nibs. Nib is good when it's paired, and it's mainly Easter mainly is cross-out targets. This one came up a lot as cross-out target, by the way. I think I crossed out like 3 or 4 Valors over the course of the weekend. Yeah, Nib came up like once as a hard draw. So, and unfortunately, I got nibbed like 3 times and didn't have the cross-out in my hand, so go figure. They had hand trapless nib, and it's just how it is sometimes. 2 talent. Talents is crazy. I don't like 3 talents because I think getting 3 talents is very bad for you. I'd rather do 2 talents and a call by, which if I change off of running cross out is what I'm going to do. But yeah, absurd card. Speaking of cross out, 3 cross out. Yeah, came up a lot. Powerful card. Has a lot of good strengths, but also has a lot of weaknesses because, you know, if you're not playing the mirror match, it can be a hindrance. If I do decide to change this out, I wasn't dissatisfied with it, but if I do change it out, I would do like the 2 talent, 1 call by, like I said. I think that's like the right call if you're not doing this. I like what the 1 Breaker deck did. I can remember the 2 where he was running Book of Eclipse in main. It's not a great card. You need like 2 in the break, but Book of Eclipse and Book of Moon can help you protect your cards too, like these guys can. Because you can flip your duo drive face down, and it dodges like Valor, Imperm, stuff like that. So if I would change this, I would go that route. Then lastly, 3 Imperm. You know, you should be running 3 Imperm. It's still one of the best hand traps in the game. So that's the main deck, 41 cards. Let's go to my extra deck. And this is where I would probably do a couple, I don't know if I'd change this, but it'd be the side deck. So, 1 Chaos Angel. Amazing card. The reason I ran the Bestials to begin with. Even more so than just having them against the Fiendsmith cards. I think this card is absurd. It did win me a couple games. I do not regret running it. I was tempted to run even more Bestials, but I didn't want to like throw off the synergy of the deck and make X harder to summon. Having sitting on a Light and Dark Chaos Angel and non-engine can just insane against Ryzeal boards. They need to draw the out. Typhon, same thing. Like he's just kind of mandatory right now. In the old formats, it was just like a white flag card you're surrendering, but this can be like the last thing you need to crack a whole board, a full Ryzeal Fiendsmith board, and then you use this and like hand traps, live the next turn, and then kill them. I'm on one aggregator. You know, just I only think you need one. You're mainly just going second because the more important one and one of the big advantages to pure is you run 2 twins. I think 2 twins in pure is mandatory, and it seems like every pure deck that top was running 2. I gotta double check on that. This is what lets you grind against Fiendsmith, Ryzeal, and Mitsurugi. This is the reason. So this card is essential at 2. It's one of the main reasons you could justify running playing pure. So yeah. As for the Ryzeal card itself, 2 detonator, 1 duo drive. I didn't miss a second duo drive. A lot of decks were running 2 duo drives. I didn't miss it at all, honestly. I wanted to go for more toolbox. I didn't really have a situation where I'm like, man, I wish I had a second duo drive right now. But I can't fault people for running 2, but it never came up for me. 2 detonators a must, though. And then for my toolbox cards, Maguska, Exitin, Abyss Dweller, Dugaris, Ray Lancer, Castel, Haggard. So, these guys are pretty self-explanatory. So is this one to an extent. I did not run the Harpy's Featherstorm tech. I experimented with it. It's too sacky. If you draw the Featherstorm later, it's just really, really bad. Let's get to this guy. So, Ray Lancer. I tried testing OTK situations by using the Eclipse Twins with Tet instead. Over there, they're right there. But there were several times where this came up when I couldn't kill with Eclipse Twins. And I did get like 3 kills this weekend, like 3 game enders because of this card. Because it lets you attack twice in the monsters. So it lets you attack twice, regardless if it's a monster or not. So you can punch over a monster and then punch again, like directly into them. I'm still going to potentially consider cutting it because you can go for like grind game. But I will say, just because Eclipse Twins exist now, this card is not obsolete. Don't be afraid to run this card if you have the room. It came up for me like 3 times this weekend. It was like 3 or 4 times. I think it was 3. I don't remember exactly, but it won me games. And then as for Haggard, I preferred it over Donner. Probably my Kashtira routes. I really like being able to clear my field. Because like in Kashtira, I would use this to clear my field and like special another Kashtira monster. For context, one of my other decks before this was Pure Cash, and I still play Pure Cash. You get a draw 1, and you clear your field, which opens the ability for you to special X and use the effective search. So it came up a couple times. I'd still run it over Donner. I didn't run into Baguska once, which is my biggest concern running this over Donner, but I didn't see Baguska at all. So it worked out. Alright, extra deck. Side deck, I'm sorry. This will definitely make some changes for next time. We'll go over the good stuff first. 3 Lancia, must. 2 Meows. This, I did not see at all during the course of the entire weekend. I wouldn't take it out, though, because it is too vital against Malice. Malice, it is so hard to, like, win if they get a fully established board unless you're, like, on nothing but breakers. But if you're running the hand trap approach, you need to, like, see one of these cards. So, I saw Lancia. I didn't see this. So, but I would still run it. 100%. So, I would not change this. The third Droll's in here. You know, because again, I expected Mitsurugi. Didn't see it. Unfortunate. I just had this in for some decks. I believe I still did side it in for a deck or 2, yeah. I played a couple, yeah, I did. I played a couple Whitewoods Azamina decks. I played 2 of them, surprisingly. I went 1-1 against them. I did side in the third Droll against them, because that deck does lose the Droll pretty hard, too. 2 Ultimate Slayer. I would have loved to run 3, but I didn't have the room. Never saw it. I did side it in for the Fiendsmith Ryzeal matches, but I never saw it. But, you know, one of the things I might change if I can find room to get a third one in there. If not, I'll figure it out. But yeah, I didn't regret running it. 3 Solemn Judgment. I went with Judgment over Strike. Some run both, some run one. I want to be more defensive. If you want to run Strike instead, I completely understand. That is fine. I think Strike's a very good card. The Orlando proved it as well. Solemn Judgment came up for me quite a few times. Also an insane card right now, so straightforward. 2 Soul Drain. This is where the biggest change would be. So, this card is absolutely insane right now. This is probably the single strongest card in this deck. I tested it in the main deck, but didn't use it in the main. And I did see it plenty of times, thankfully. I kind of got lucky, I feel. I saw it a lot. I saw it in both Fiendsmith Ryzeal games I won. I really missed it another game against Malice. So I think going forward, at least me personally, I like it better than Strike. I'm going to try to main deck 3 of these instead. Like, a lot of people are main decking 3 Strike. I'm going to go for main deck 3 of these because this card is just so absurd into the meta right now. It's basically an auto win against Malice. Against Fiendsmith Ryzeal, it turns off half their deck, and it turns off X and Eclipse Twins, which, yeah, you don't get it either, but it hurts them way more than it hurts you. Like, okay, I don't have Eclipse Twins, you don't have it either, but you also don't have Fiendsmith. So it's like, all right, I'll take that trade any day of the week. So I would probably go with 3 of these in the main deck. Cracked card. D-Barrier, cross out target, put it in going first. Didn't come up at all. So, I don't know. I did use it. I did like hard draw it and call D-Barrier in one of the games. I forget how that game wound up going, but it didn't do that much. People weren't running D-Barrier. Literally the only person that ran D-Barrier and dropped it on me was the dude I played in the first game, Labyrinth. He did turn 0 on me, so it wasn't even in my deck. It was sitting in my side deck. So, yeah. So we'll have to see if this stays in. If I don't run Crossout, it's definitely coming out. And then last but not least, I was really concerned about time, so I sided a Cowboy. I liked everything in my extra deck. I didn't want to take anything out, so I went with an extra. I went with him in the extra deck. He came up once. Other than that, though, in all the other rounds, he didn't come up. And he came up against one of the he came up against one of the White Wood Azamina decks, and they're just a long combo deck. I thought a lot of my games were going to grind out and get close to time, but they didn't. Well, they lasted, but not nearly the time. So I don't think he was necessary. Yeah, it came up one time, but I don't think it's enough to justify it in 9 rounds. So he's probably getting cut. I don't think he's necessary. So, yeah, that's the deck. Like I said, what I would change is, Soul Drain 3 for sure. I think Soul Drain is just too powerful. You can run Strike as well if you want. Change up some of the hand trap lineup because I tried to make a meta call on Mitsurugi Ryzeal, and it wasn't the case for me. I didn't see any. I needed to get more balanced approach. Like, okay, play the hand traps that are okay against Mitsurugi Ryzeal, and then you can side in the draws later. And yeah, so that's it. And hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks.